Hey everyone, Zach here from Windows Central and welcome back to another video. Now today we're taking a look at Windows 10 X. This is Microsoft's new, modern and lightweight version of Windows designed for people who are more comfortable using a Chromebook or an iPad as their laptop or PC. So yes, this is a simplified version of Windows built from the ground up with modern workflows in mind. That means it doesn't support legacy desktop applications and prioritizes web and always connected experiences. But before we get to all of that, let's start by taking a look at some of the new user interfaces and features unique to Windows 10 X. And where else better to start than with the Start menu. So yes, this is the new Windows 10 X Start menu. At the top here we have our search bar, which allows us to search the web as well as our installed apps and settings. So if I search for Windows here, you'll see our web results at the top as well as apps below that, and then our settings below that. Below that we have our apps list, which shows us 3 rows of 5 icons with a show all button that reveals all of the installed apps on our PC. You can move around icons in this UI if you want to customize it, but that's as much customization as you're going to get. There's no live tiles and there's no app folders, unfortunately. You can of course right click on icons and pin them to the taskbar if you want. So let's pin mail and files as well, and they will show up in the taskbar just like that. Now below the apps list here we have our recents area, which shows us our recently installed apps as well as recently opened documents in Microsoft Office. So if we click on, say, this Word document here, that will open up in Microsoft Word. Or if you don't have Word installed, that will open up in the web browser and load up the Office web app instead. So that's a very quick look at the new Windows 10 X Start menu. Moving on to the taskbar, which has also been given a facelift on Windows 10 X. As you can see, pinned and running apps are no longer left aligned. They are now centered alongside the Start and Task View buttons. And the system tray has also been simplified quite a bit. There are no longer different buttons for different flyouts, such as volume and Wi-Fi. All of that has been consolidated into this new quick settings panel, which we will talk about in just a bit. But first, I just want to showcase some of the new animations that you can find in the taskbar on Windows 10 X. So if we click on the Start button here, you'll see that there's a subtle animation that plays. Same goes for the Task View button, and same goes for pinned and running apps. If I click on the Mail app, for example, here, you'll see that the icon pushes in as I click it, and then the app will open. And if I minimize the same app, the icon will sort of bounce when it minimizes to it, which is really quite nice. So yes, the new taskbar, I'd call it a simplified taskbar. There's really not a lot you can do with it. You can resize it if we jump into settings. There are 3 different sizes you can choose from. We have medium, which is the default one right now. We also have the small size here, and then there's also a larger size, which is good for tablets. We'll keep it at medium though, because that is the default. And now we can move on to the system tray, which, as I said, has been simplified. All of those old flyouts that used to sort of be on the taskbar have now been consolidated into this quick settings panel. So if I want to get access to my Wi-Fi list, I can press this arrow here and that will show me my Wi-Fi list. If I want to get access to my Bluetooth devices, I can do that through this UI, which is quite nice. If I want to change my volume, I can do that up here with this slider. And if I want to change my audio devices, I just have to press on that arrow and I can do that through this UI. So yes, moving everything into the quick settings panel, all in the name of simplicity. That's the whole point of Windows 10 X. It's a simpler version of Windows 10, and that means moving everything into one big action center button, which can be pressed like that. Above the quick settings panel is of course your notifications, which are still here and that operate basically the same. You can interact with notifications, you can clear all if you want. Now, in addition to all of that, the Action Center also has a new music control UI, which allows you to play and pause music as well as skip tracks, which is super nice. Now, on the subject of audio, if you're on a device with a dedicated volume rocker, there's a new volume slider UI which pops up when you press volume up or volume down, which looks like this. And honestly, I think this looks much better than the Windows 10 one. So that was a quick look at the new user interfaces on Windows 10 X. Now let's change gears and start talking about some of the new apps and features that are part of Windows 10 X, starting with the new Files app, which is much more like the Files app on iPad and less like the File Explorer on Windows 10. This is a very simple file manager that's also synced with OneDrive. So on Windows 10 X, you are required to sign in with a Microsoft account. You cannot create a local account. That's just not an option on Windows 10 X. But when you sign in with a Microsoft account, that will automatically sync your OneDrive. So your documents, music, and pictures folder on 10X are automatically syncing with the cloud. So you can see here we have our documents, and down in the right we have our sync indicator, which says we're all up to date. All of these files that I'm seeing right now are also available in my OneDrive and are being mirrored on my Windows 10X device. The only folder that doesn't get mirrored to OneDrive is the Downloads folder, which you can see here. Files in the Downloads folder remain local on your Windows 10X PC, but everything else gets mirrored to OneDrive and vice versa. You can also use this app to browse USB drives and stuff, but it's a very basic file browser. This is not a power user tool by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, this is basically the Files app on iPad. It's very basic, designed specifically to get you access to files. You aren't going to be doing much file management using this app because it's a pain to do. But yes, this is the new Files app on Windows 10X. So that's a quick look at the new File Explorer. Like I said, a very basic file manager. Moving on, you may have already noticed, but all apps run in full screen on Windows 10X, and that's a deliberate design choice by Microsoft. Microsoft says that 10X at launch will only be launching on low-cost, low-end, small-screen devices where you wouldn't really want to cascade multiple windows at once. So they took out the option, and all apps now run full screen. This will likely change in a future version of Windows 10X as it becomes available on more and more devices. But with version 1, all apps run in full screen, and there's no option to turn that off, unfortunately. You can still multitask with two apps side by side, just like Windows 10. So if we open up two apps here and drag down from the top, we can initiate Snap Assist, which will allow me to snap two apps side by side like that. But new to Windows 10X is a new gesture system, which allows you to initiate Snap Assist with the touchpad. So all I have to do is use 3 fingers to swipe to the right, and that will snap the app to the right and allow me to choose an app on the left to snap. Now, if I want to get rid of the Settings app, I just have to swipe to the right again, and the Settings app will minimize itself and Mail will become full screen. So that's a nice addition to Windows 10X, using the touchpad as a gesture system for Snap Assist. Hopefully that comes to Windows 10 because I actually find it really useful. Now it's time to talk about the app situation on Windows 10X. As I mentioned, Windows 10X is a modern platform, and as a result it doesn't natively support legacy Windows desktop applications. That includes things like Google Chrome or iTunes. You can sort of get around that by using the remote desktop app and, connecting to a Windows 10 PC and running those apps through remote desktop. Or, and this is what Microsoft is kind of hoping you'll do, utilize web apps. So for example, on Windows 10X, the Spotify app will not run because it's a legacy desktop application. However, Spotify has a pretty neat web app which you can install on Windows 10X, and Windows 10X will treat it as if it's a native application. So if we go to the Spotify website here, you'll see in the top right there's a plus button that appears. Accept those cookies. This plus button up here will appear, and if you press on that, you can install this website as an app. So yeah, as you can see, the app now looks like a native Windows app. We have an icon in the taskbar down here, and it also shows up in the start menu like that. In fact, Windows 10X does a really good job of integrating these. If we right click on the app icon, you'll see that it has a dedicated page in the Settings app on Windows 10 as well. So yes, Windows 10X designed primarily with web apps in mind. Now, support for legacy desktop applications will be coming in a future version of Windows 10X. It's just not here at launch. You won't be able to run your legacy desktop applications at first. So there you have it. That's a quick look at Windows 10X. This is something that won't be rolling out as an update to existing Windows 10 users. This is only for new PCs built specifically for Windows 10X. So if you want Windows 10X, you'll have to go out and buy a device with it pre-installed. Those devices will start going on sale at some point later this year. But in the meantime, make sure you check out Windows Central for more on Windows 10X. But that's basically everything. So thank you so much for watching, and we shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.